We have seen many of the games by Palatnik in this book, and we continue to see them. However, at this point, there is something that I consider some questions that we should ask ourselves. The initial position is the same for everybody, and Palatnik wants to reach from the opening a certain endgame. Doesn't that mean that we should study the endgame? Because he doesn't tell us that. But the thing is, yes, you can improve your position, you can come out from the opening and middle game with an advantage, but if you don't know how to convert that advantage into a won game in the endgame, how do you actually win? So this is a kind of question that came to me after watching the last two games, because clearly Palatnik is showing us a kind of magic, right? He plays the same opening over and over and he wins so easily. How is that even possible, right? But let's continue to watch his games, because they are beautiful, they are simple, and I like them, honestly. I really like them. I'm happy that I got this book. It's like, you know, to go to a movie theater and I'm enjoying the movie. So this game was Palatnik Ginza in Berlin, 1992. In this game, during the opening, white has pinned their star to reaching a position where black's compromised pawn structure on the queen side will allow him to continue to improve his position. c4, e6, g3, d5, bishop g2, c5, knight f3, knight f6, castle, knight c6, c takes d5, e takes d5, d4, bishop e7, knight c3, castle, d takes c5, and bishop takes c5. Now this is a position with an isolated queen pawn. However, black seems is controlling this square, and let's see what's the lesson here. Okay, bishop g5, d4, knight e4, bishop e7, bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, queen d2. And now we are going to pile up on the d file, right? So he wants probably to move this rook here to avoid this problem, and is controlling once more the square in front of the isolated pawn. We have seen some games on the isolated pawn in some of the middle games manual, and we will see some more, because it's always important to see from other chess grandmaster their perspective on how to fight against and for the isolated queen pawn, right? Okay, white has chosen a relatively lovely variation in a classical Tarrasch defense. How does he play now? Black plays bishop f5. With this impulsive move, black allows his opponent to mess up the hairdo of black pawns on the king side. The idea behind white's opening move is built on this. It is even a piercing idea, since white plans on inviting the black pawns to his hair salon and conduct a fourth-rate haircut on black's position. Okay, honestly, to tell you the truth, some of these comments to me are like Nimzowitsch. I couldn't understand anything Nimzowitsch said, because he was coming from another culture and another time. So sometimes it's tough, but I understand that, yeah, I understand what he means, but that's enough to say that he will damage king side pawn structure, right? That's it. You don't need to say anything else. All the rest seems redundant to me. Queen f4, rook f e8. It is also possible to play here 15d3. Okay, so if you wanted to show a line, why don't you put a diagram here, dear friend, right? So we can see what's going on. Practically, e takes d3, bishop takes d3, queen takes f6, g takes f6, rook f d1, and here there is a bishop a6. Okay, from d3 it goes to a6. And white will have a certain advantage in the endgame. Okay. But he played rook f e8, attacking this pawn, so he doesn't care probably much about this. Knight h4, bishop d7, and here there is, the computer suggests an interesting move here, which is of 16, rook e5. Okay. So this has been computer checked, but we don't know which engine he used, because once more, this game is from 2017. Notice that I read that there is a translator here. And translator is Olga Palatnik, maybe it's the daughter, maybe it's the wife. If this was written in Russian, so, or in who knows what, it makes sense that the prose is a little different, and maybe it would make more sense in the original language. Okay. Queen takes f6, g takes f6, rook f e1, and here there is a diagram. White has succeeded in creating the pawn weaknesses for black, king side, okay? Isolated, double and isolated. However, his success in our things is not as great. The position has become visibly simplified and will continue to be even further simplified. Black pieces can start showing visible activity, and it is unclear how much weight the weakness of a king side carries. Okay. Here there is rook e5 played in the game, but the author makes a long comment about this knight before and gives a line which is 10 moves long. I doubt he did this by himself, so it's use a computer. And at the end of the line, the 10 moves with approximate equality. Okay. So let's watch rook e5, rook a d1, rook a e8. So it's all piling up on this, maybe because he knows that this is going down no matter what. Rook d2, rook c5, a3, king f8, h3. So let's watch one thing here, because it seems it's important. He says that if you play bishop takes e6, it's a mistake. Why? Because bishop takes e6, rook takes d4, rook takes e2. So why this is a mistake? Because if you take back, there is rook c1 check, the bishop is here and is a checkmate, okay? Practically it's a checkmate in 2 moves. Once you finish to block the rook, the game is over. So you cannot really take this pawn right away. Maybe you have to prepare it in some ways. So that's why he played h3, because now he can actually take on c6. Still, I don't know, because the diagonal could be still controlled and given a checkmate on h1. So let's see why. watch this, he played bishop e6. Wow, because let's watch one thing. Let's say he plays a6, okay? So look at what happens, and so you will tell me if I'm right or not. So my idea is to keep this bishop here. Now let's say that he does this, take again. So you cannot take in any case because of this. And this is checkmate. However, we should see if there are some possible checks that maybe make the, no, I don't think he can escape. Maybe he has check with the computer. However, bishop e6 gave up that possible tacticism, right? And maybe he didn't want to move a pawn or make a move to avoid that then this become a weakness. I don't know. It's maybe a case of Zugzwang, and so black needs to play at a certain moment. But maybe this should have been a little more discussed inside the book, right? Because this tacticism is interesting, in my opinion. Now let me put back the pieces in the position as it was. Okay, I think I have put the pieces back into the position. Again, it would have been interested that the author would explain if this was a fatal mistake and it could be avoided by a move like this, or some kind of other move that gives black some kind of way to avoid to move the bishop away from this position. I don't know. I think that would have been interesting. Okay, because after this, obviously, white is forced to fight against further consolidation of the black pieces in the center. Okay, b takes e6, rook takes d4, and bishop takes h3. But you see, that's the difference. Yes, black has got that pawn, but look at black's pawn structure. They are all isolated, double and isolated. So who cares about giving that pawn when you have targets? Why targets? Because they cannot defend themselves, so they are easily attacked, in my opinion. Rook d2, rook b8, f3 is trying to obviously close in the bishop, bishop e6, knight g2, the knight on h4 can keep waiting for a long time for some TLC. Oh, what is TLC? Rook c b5, rook c b5. Okay, so it's doubling up to attack on that. b4 e5. After this move, it looks like white will not be able to add anything else to their list of achievements. Their attempts to improve the position in the center and on the queen side have gone in vain. Rook c1, e takes b4, e takes b4, rook takes b4, and rook takes e6. Okay, that's interesting. At this point, yeah, it would be interesting to see how you actually win against the computer. Well, I don't know. Rook 4, b6, rook takes b6, rook takes b6, and rook d8. Wow! Check. This check does not allow the black king to proceed to the center and more. King g7, knight f4. A surprise reader might ask if this is it. Of course, white would have loved to have more, however, one still has to be grateful to fate for even a small act of kindness. And here there is a diagram. At first glance, the endgame is not at all simple for black. Weaknesses on the king side are becoming apparent. Here is where white's strategy comes to a climax. we have to believe that when white tried to answer the question in the opening whether they will be able to improve upon this position, he did not make a mistake. I don't know if really the maximum he could get out of the opening is this. As you can see, to study the endgame is a must, right? Rook b5, rook d6, rook e5, g4, f5, g5, h6. Black was forced into making these few clumsy moves. However, his last move looks as if he might be able to escape from the net closing around him. g6, king f6, g takes f7, king takes f7, and king f2. And there is another diagram here. King e7, rook b6, king f7, rook c6. And here to rook c6 was given an exclamation point, which is to say that it's a very good move. Turns out that, unbeknown to himself, Black has reached a Zugzwang. What does the Zugzwang mean? That he needs to move, and when he moves, he will lose. King f6. The least evil would have been to say goodbye to the pawn on h6 after the departure of the bishop to d7. However, now everything comes to an end. Let's see. Knight d3, rook d5, knight c5, rook e5, and boom. Well, this is interesting. However, as you can see, what is the real problem of this game, in a sense, is the fact that we are deep into the endgame, and today's time control are shorter, so this win is due maybe to time trouble for Black, right? If Black was a computer, it would have been interesting to see if White was actually able to win in this position. I hope you enjoyed this game, and I hope that you will enjoy this book like I'm enjoying it now. Thank you.